Hello, everyone. We are the
Hello.
Dixons.
Hey.
This is my beautiful wife, Renee, of
Hello.
25 years. And we want to just come on and share our testimony, how we met. And you want to start first, your part?
Yeah. Hi
Hmm.
everybody. Renee Dixon. Today's date is what is it? 26th?
The 26th of November.
11/26, 2024.
Hmm.
So just to put that on record. But anyway, the Lord began to deal with me about a husband in 1995. And I was just like, well, I was enjoying the ministry. I was enjoying being single. And I said, well, not yet, Lord, just kind of put it off. So in 1996, the Lord said, start writing things down. And I said, well, what do you want me to write down? He told me to write down my whole wedding, colors, people, everything that I wanted my wedding to look like. And I said, okay, so I started writing things down. So in 1997, the Lord, I just continued on the journey with the Lord as far as just Him just walking me through it. And the end of 1997, the Lord said, go get your dress. And I said, go get my dress, Lord. I don't even know who the man is. So He said, go and get your dress. So I went and I obeyed the Lord. I went and got my dress. Didn't tell anybody. I just kind of kept everything to myself, and I went and picked out my dress and got that, shoes and all that. I had that on the side. I said, okay, Lord, now what do you want me to do? He said, just wait. And I said, okay. So in 1998, the Lord started dealing with me about Ron. Now the Lord deals with me in dreams. So He started dealing with me about Ron in dreams. And I was like, Lord, why do I keep dreaming about this guy? But the dreams weren't lustful or anything like that. They were just like very specific and instructional and very clear. And after the third dream, I said, okay, Lord, now I asked the Lord, I said, okay, is this my husband? And the Lord didn't answer me. He answered me, with another dream. He did answer me, but in another dream. So He kept giving me dreams after that. And I said, okay. And then after about maybe the fifth or sixth dream, I said, okay, Lord, I'm just going to go on a fast and see what's going on. So in the eighth dream, um, Ron began to, no, in the ninth dream, which is the number of birthing, he kind of went like this in the dream and he started pulling me towards him. And then after I had that dream, Ron started asking me out to dinner. And this was in 1998. He started asking me out to dinner and I said, okay. And, um, and the Lord spoke to me after I went on a 3-day fast. At the end of the fast, He said, that's your husband. And I said, okay. And I promised the Lord that if He showed me who my husband was, that I wasn't, I was going to be good. I wasn't going to say anything. So I didn't say anything. I didn't let on that I knew. I continued to, we were in the choir together. We were on the prison ministry together and all of that. And we were just brother and sister in the Lord. But I had this knowledge, I knew that He was my husband. And I was like, okay, Lord, when are you going to speak to him? No, because I know. And so, but I felt like He was dealing with Ron in a sense because Ron acted like, how a man act like when he likes you or whatever. But I knew our relationship was different, but we wasn't dating. I knew that there was, I knew he felt something more than that, but I know he's a praying man, so I know he wanted to make sure. And so after in the ninth dream, I also had another dream that I got married in my dress, but I still didn't know. He didn't know. Ron wasn't at the altar with me. I said I was going toward the altar, and I said, "Well, Lord, who's the man? I don't know who the man is, but I'm walking towards the altar in my dress that I bought." And I woke up, and so after that dream, Ron and I, we would go out to dinner, and one night, we went out. Ron asked me out, to the movies or whatever. We went to a movie, and I was like, okay, he's asking me out on a date. Are we dating? So I said, okay, Lord, what's going on? So after that, Ron and I were talking, and he said, I remember when I told you the Lord was dealing with me about something, when I was praying at the altar. And I said, yeah. I said, what was it? I thought he was going to give me some, some revelation about something. He said, the Lord told me that you were going to be my wife. And I said, I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah. He said, oh, I'm positive. And I said, okay, good. I said, because the Lord already told me that you were my husband. So then we shared testimonies on the different dealings and everything. everything with me was about numbers, because the dealings that amount of months that the Lord dealt with me about Ron was 9 months. And in the 9th month, which is the number of birthing, Ron told me that you're to be my wife. It was the whole, the number of new beginnings. Like in the 8th month, something significant happened. And in the 9th month, he told me you were to be my wife. And so, so after that, it was, we started officially dating.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord has spoke to different people in the congregation, because one of the girls that I wrote down to be my MC in the wedding, I sat her down and I asked her, I said, I want you to be MC at my wedding, Ron and I get married. And she broke down and started crying. And I said, well, Marley, why are you crying? And she said, well, we were in 5 o'clock morning prayer, and we were all in a circle holding hands, closing out. You and Ron were holding hands, and the Lord spoke to me and said that they are to wed. And so she was just like, the Lord showed me that a long time ago. And I was like, wow. And then another, one of the mothers in the church called me, and she said, the Lord told me to tell you something, but he didn't release me to say it until now. He said, she was saying, the Lord released me to say it now because he told me you already know. And I said, what is it? She said, Ron is your husband. I said, I know. She said, so we talked about that. And so, we just began to date and everything. And so we got married the next year, which is 1999, May 8th, which is the 5th month, the 8th day at 5 o'clock. In 1999. So all the numbers to me was significant.
5 is grace.
5 is grace. 8 is new beginning. The number of 9 is birthing. So, everything. And then, and we got married at 5 o'clock. Everything was just so significant. And our wedding was actually on time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
everything was paid for.
Everything. Oh my goodness. We got so much favor.
Yeah.
At that wedding. I mean, I'm pretty sure I would have paid thousands and thousands of dollars, but I don't think I think I paid less than $100 for everything in that wedding, because people were giving us stuff. They gave us columns. They gave us, one of the sisters said, oh, my sister owns a store. She has columns. And the girl that coordinated the wedding, she said, oh, I'm not charging you. She was a wedding coordinator. I said, I'm not charging you. And, it was just so much favor and so much love and so much, when they announced the wedding, and I had been going to that church for years, and they announced, everybody's wedding, and it was like, clapping. But when they announced me and Ron's wedding, it was like a roar. Everybody just stood up and started clapping. I'm like, what is this? It was almost like God was just so on and in everything that we did. And, I waited for him, and I tried to encourage single sisters, and I know Ron don't like me telling his age, but I was 37 and Ron was 34 when we got married. So we were both, in our 30s, and we were mature. We had lived life, and we had never, had any previous marriages or children or anything like that. And I try to encourage single sisters to wait, because I was almost 40 years old when I got married, and I'm 62 now, And so I try to encourage them, wait on the Lord, because when God does a thing, he does it well.
Right.
And we've been married for 25 good years, And of course, neither one of us are perfect. I'm not saying we never had days where, we were like, you know what I'm saying, had a little argument or whatever. But, nobody's perfect. No, because, marriage is perfect because no people are perfect. But we had, for the most part, a good marriage and a good relationship, because this here is my best friend. We're just good friends, and we were friends first before we got married, which is, to me, is very important. But the number one thing is to have Christ in the center of your marriage. And that's what we always had. We always had Christ in the center of our marriage. Because the way the Lord dealt with Ron, and I'm gonna let him tell his, how the Lord dealt with him, but the Lord, I think I was working the altar or something I was doing, and Ron was singing in the men's choir, and he was on his knees, and he praying, and Ron, and the Lord told him, stand up and turn around, and he stood up, and God said, that's your wife, that's your wife. And so that was basically, it was like he heard an audible voice saying, that's your wife, And so, but I'll let him. I didn't already told it, but you can tell it.
But I wanted to say how important it is, because I came out of a homosexual lifestyle. That was a miracle in itself for me to be married. That was the power of God, because I was single I think probably when I got saved, I think I was saved 7 years before I met Renee. And so me living a life of purity and holiness and consecration, God is not going to send you a wife. We both of us were not looking for a spouse, but that was in the heart of God.
Yeah.
And so that was the plan of God. And so we were seeking, the Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God and all these things shall be added unto you. And so we were going hard after God. We was in the ministry together. I taught Sunday school. Like she said, we were in the choir, went to prison ministry, and we became good friends. I felt I remember one time in service, pastor said, hug your neighbor and tell them something. Hug your neighbor or whatever. And Renee was sitting close to me. I think she was sitting behind me.
No, I was sitting in front of you. We always sat in the same section. You were behind me.
Okay. Well, she was. You were sitting where?
In front, right, directly in front of me.
Okay. She was sitting in front of me. She was sitting in front of me. So when I hugged her, I was like, "Whoa, what is this? What is this?" I felt something, and she felt so comfortable in my arms, and I had to look around, because I felt like I held her forever. And I was looking around like, well, what's, I hope nobody don't think I'm, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But she felt so comfortable. It was like, it was a pulling or drawing I never felt before, and I knew that was, at first I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I had never felt it before. And like I said, we started dating, and anytime God gets into a situation or ordains something, the enemy is going to come also. And so while we were dating, what were we dating? We were dating. I think we were dating, and so much stuff started coming at me. So many distractions and so many.
I think it was right before. I think it was right before we started dating.
Right before we started dating.
Yeah.
Some strange person, I don't know, out of nowhere, asked to be my roommate, and I think I talked to you about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on? And I think this happened twice. It's like the enemy always sends distractions to get you off.
And I heard the Lord say, tell him no.
And I did that because even with that, I ended up kind of not leaving the church, but going to another ministry. So, like I said, so much stuff was happening, but me and Renee kept our relationship together. But I ended up coming back to the church. But what I'm saying is, don't get distracted, because when God has a promise for you, the enemy sees that promise over your life. He hears the prophecy also. Not only the angels hear, but the enemy hears it.
Yeah.
And so you have to be alert and be aware to know that the enemy is going to come and try to distract you. But you have to stay focused and realize what that is.
Yeah.
Of course, at the time, I didn't realize what it was. But looking back on it now, it was just a distraction.
Yeah.
And just to think about renewing of the mind. If my mind had not been renewed, from the lifestyle I was in, God would have never sent me a woman of God. I'm talking about, this is a real woman of God, and that just shows the testament of God's power, of his promises or whatever. And I just want people to know, and I didn't get saved to get married. We didn't get saved to get married.
Yeah.
We God saved us. We fell in love with God, and God brought us together, through that.
And we were both busy in the ministry.
Busy.
We weren't pining away for a man or a woman,
right?
Because a lot of singles might say, "Oh, I want a man. I need a man to to further my life or make my life better." But we loved ourselves. We loved the Lord.
Right,
we were
right,
busy
right.
in the ministry.
Right.
We were both in the choir. I was on the praise team. I was on the prophetic team. I was, in the choir. We were both in prison ministry. I mean, we were busy in the ministry. Right. So, and the Lord just came in, and we were both so comfortable in doing stuff for the Lord. We were like, well, okay, Lord, but can you wait? But Lord said, no, this is to be now.
Right.
So, we obeyed the Lord in to the letter. He just instructed both of us. He walked me through the months while I waited for him to tell Ron, and show Ron and speak to him. And he walked me through all those months and kept me encouraged. And I couldn't tell anybody
Mhm.
because, you just stuff like that, you just have to keep to yourself. And we both almost married the wrong people.
Right,
And
right.
Ron's situation, he was getting ready to get married, and actually, me and a girlfriend of mine, we were going to go down to Greenville because he's from Greenville, South Carolina. We were going to drive down to his wedding. We were getting ready to get our outfits to go to his wedding. I had no idea he was my husband at the time. He was getting ready to marry somebody else, but God told him that's not your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, dating some guy long before that, but years before. I think, it was a couple of years before that, and we had a women's conference, and I was asking the Lord, what is this, And so I think it was Paul Morton's wife, Deborah Morton.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing praise and worship, and she was just in the middle of doing praise and worship. And I walked in, and I was just sitting down. I think I came late because I came from work or something. And so I came in and I sat down, and out of the blue, as she was singing praise and worship, and she sang it. She didn't actually say it to me directly, but I know it was my word. She was singing, as she was singing praise and worship, and she was saying, "He's not the one."
Wow.
She was singing it. "He's not the one." I can't sing, but she was saying, "He's not the one." And she was singing in the middle of her praise and worship, "He's not the one." And I looked around like, and I was like, Lord, I know that's my word. So, and I knew that was my word. I knew I was getting ready to, step into an Ishmael blessing instead of an Isaac blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's Isaac. So, it's just a matter of seeking the Lord and obeying Him and walking and staying in His presence. We could have married the wrong person, but I remember I was in a women's shut-in at the church that we met and married in, and one of the prophets came and started, prophesying to me. And she said, God said, you shall not always walk alone. She said, God said, but he has to be special. She said, many have come to you that weren't your husband. She said, but the one that God is going to send has to be special. That's what she said to me. And I was like, wow, she didn't even know that God was dealing with me about a husband. And then somebody told Ron to say, no, I think Ron, you said that she has to be special or something.
One of my friends told me that.
Okay, somebody told him that she has to be special.
Right.
And a prophet told me that he has to be special.
Right.
So I knew I had to wait on God.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in our lives, we going strong in the ministry, and to make that kind of mistake, it's a huge mistake.
Right. It can affect the rest of your life. I mean, if I would have married that young lady, no offense to anyone. I probably would be divorced.
Yeah, me too.
Not even in
prison.
But marriage is important. Who you marry is very important.
Yeah.
Because you have to have, God gives you the grace for that person.
Yeah.
Because you're not only marrying that person, you're marrying that person's weaknesses. You're marrying that person's issues. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so God is giving you you have to have the grace for that person.
Yeah.
And so God knows what he's doing when he puts somebody together.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say this also about, I knew I was to get married. I just didn't know who.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was supposed to get married. And so I assumed it was her because she was the young lady I was engaged to. I assumed it was her because we were already friends. And so sometimes you can just do things, you can assume and do things on your own.
Yeah.
You can have part of it,
mm-hmm.
And you try to make something happen.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary, and it's not God.
Yeah.
So you have to wait for the instructions.
Mm-hmm.
I think my thing was too, I want to please God. I said, well,
mm-hmm.
okay, God, if you want me to get married, I'm going to marry my friend. This is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
There was no chemistry or whatever, but I was just going to be obedient to God and marry her anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And was just, right before we were going to get married, I said, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
And so it's like I said, it's important to wait on God, to know
mm-hmm.
God's voice, to stay in his presence,
mm-hmm.
And don't listen to, and keep people out of your business.
Oh, yes. Keep people out of your business.
Single, married, whatever,
yeah.
And I know people need mentors. They need, but God will send you someone,
mm-hmm.
God will send people in your path,
Yeah.
And and I think the most important thing is for singles is to be alone with God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have the best of your years to build your relationship with God when you're
Yeah.
single.
Yeah.
And you're being rooted and grounded in the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And you're loving God. Because I can remember going when I first got saved. I can remember going to prayer in the morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, standing in the church all day long until they had prayer at 7 o'clock that night.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much I wanted God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how much I needed God.
Yeah.
Because coming out of that lifestyle, you need a whole makeover.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You need a whole makeover. And one of the things that really shifted while I was, during that time, because most gay, homosexual people like to be around girls. They feel comfortable around girls or whatever. And so I had a lot of girlfriends. And after a while, I told them I can't hang around y'all because I felt God doing something in me. That transformation, you see what I'm saying? That transformation comes, and so God changes your mind, changes your will, He changes your emotions, and that comes through relationship with Him. It's not going to happen by itself. You have to spend time with God, spend time with the Word, and let God do a work in you. He said, "He that begun a good work in you shall perform it until the day of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
He shall complete it up until the day of Jesus Christ." And so we just wanted to share that little bit, and you guys have a blessed night. Hopefully we can share more.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, inbox us or whatever. If you want prayer, whatever, just let us know. And we love you guys, and y'all have a blessed night.
Bless.